It is, it is a good Thursday because today we are going to talk about very, very interesting issues. I've never, to be honest with you, given it a thought. You know that there are two types of farming which we actually have. In fact, I could not even mention anyone. If I mention, it will be a guess. So, what are the two types of farming, and what are they?
Okay, thanks, Stan. Two types of farming. We have plant production, which we have already started and talked about, in which we will, in coming days, we will be talking further about it, and also breaking it down on the type of products which we have on the plant production. Then we got the animal production, in which it's also called animal husbandry.
Yeah. Okay.
And this one, animal husbandry, usually that is the type of agriculture in which is concerned with animals that are raised for meat, for fiber, for milk, for eggs, and other products.
Okay. So with regard to animal, you already mentioned that it can be for consumption, it can be for commercial purposes as well, right?
Yes.
All right. So what is animal production?
Animal production is the same as producing plant, but on the animals is a different one. As we have said, it's used for different purposes. Let's give an example, as we're going to talk about poultry today, poultry farming, which is chicken farming in our simple language. If South Africa, let's give an example, South Africa, we have 57 million people. Out of 57 million households, every household eats chicken, which means in a month we have to produce 1.7 billion chickens to cover those households.
1.7 billion chickens.
Billion. Yes, to cover those 57 million households every day. And don't forget us who were fortunate enough to live in the old era, we used to eat chicken intestines, chicken feet only. So you can see one chicken can be so many parts.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that is now the production which we need. If you check 1.7 billion, which means how many chickens you have to produce in South Africa in a month, you need a lot, in which you start with the hatchery from eggs, because that's where production starts for chickens.
And then it starts from there, and then these chickens, then they are raised, to a point where they can be consumed.
We have 2 to 3 types of chickens. We got our own traditional chickens at home in the villages, which our forefathers, grandmothers have been having them. Those are just chickens which mostly the risk on those chickens is the diseases, call them chicken flu. Yeah, then those we usually it's easier to cure. And then we got the long-range chicken, which are used by farmers. Those long-range chicken, they are more or less the same as those chickens in the villages, those old ones. Those are being used now by farmers to eat the ticks in the cows. So that's the reason. The reason we call them long range is you just open them in the field. They go where the cows are. If the cows are sleeping at night or during the day, then they eat those ticks. It's better to use long range than to use a deeper or other things if you don't have. So those are used by farmers. And we got the white one, mabapanya in Venda. The white one are just for consumption. Now the risk is more on the white ones. The white ones, remember, you buy them at a day-old chicks. We call them day-old chicks. immediately wherever you bought them, you need to give them medicine for stress because you transported them.
Oh, okay.
You have to, yeah, so they got stressed because they're only a day old. So immediately when you arrive to your cage, you give them a medicine for a stress, and then you start feeding them. You also have to have food, to have water, to have lights, to have food. That is what you keep them growing.
Yes.
Now, the main risk which we have is
Yes.
that in winter, the white one is too cold, so they die with the coldness. So they need heater, and if you don't have heater, electricity to keep the heater on, you can use fire. You can just do wood and use fire for the whole night for them to keep them warm. So yeah, so those are the most ones. But generally, the risk is low. Yeah, generally the risk is low, and that business can be done by most people. The other risk, which is more, is for feeding. The feeding is a bit expensive for chickens. Remember, you have to keep them awake the whole night so that they can eat the whole night.
Okay.
Yeah, we got different types of feeding. We got the starter, which is 1 week old. You got the grower, which you give them on the 2nd week. And then you got the finisher on the 3rd week, in which you'll be selling them now, those white ones.
Okay, but will you be as kind as to explain all those processes because they are very fascinating? Like the first one, the first one, as you call it, maybe perhaps just explain a little bit. It sounds like a bit of a jargon for me.
Oh, the starter, meaning you starting to feed them, to eat. Remember, it's a day-old chicks, which they never tasted any food.
Okay.
Yeah, so those food are made for them to on their nostrils, on their nose, to attract with the smell, so they can start opening the mouth and start eating.
So it is called the starter.
Yes, the
and
starter.
then the starter. So you give them the starter up to how old or how long?
For a week. For a week.
For a week.
Yes.
So for like a week will then be 7 days. Ne?
7 days, yes.
Oh, okay, and then followed by?
Followed by grower now. They are growing now. Grower. They are growing. Yes. You give them a week also.
Oh, okay. So that will be
and then,
14 days.
Yes, and then you come to the finisher now. You're finishing the growing now. You want to maintain the weight. You want to maintain the way it is so that people, when they see it, they can be interested on it. So that's the finisher, in which the 4th week you start selling now. They are ready for market.
Oh, 4th week. So in a month's time, so a chicken can then be ready for consumption.
Yes.
I want to ask another question. Ne? Yeah, because now if you take those white ones, mabapanya, ne?
Yes.
And you raise it with the normal chickens, just for checking, will it be able to survive? Let's say
no. Mabapanya, remember, the inventor, then that name, it means somebody who's sleeping. And the long range, remember, those are the strong one, which when you go to the text rank, you said you need a hard rock or hard chicken.
Yes.
Those are the one, remember? They are called long range because they are running longer distance.
Oh.
And in the older days, when you wanted to kill them, you'll have to chase it and get tired.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So it won't survive.
So it won't survive, ne?
No.
So but does it have a lifespan, for instance?
The long range.
No. Let's talk about the lifespan of the mabapanya.
Mabapanya, the one for meat, it's usually between 30 and 60 days. But remember, you don't keep them because you're going to lose on feeding them. They're a bit high in feeding.
Okay.
The long range can stay up till 2 to 5 years, between 2 to 5 years.
Oh.
And then you also have on the Mabapanya side, the one for lay hens, the one for eggs, is different from the normal one we eat, the Mabapanya for 30 days. Those, they take longer to grow, and also they last about 2 to 5 years, giving eggs every day, depending on how you feed them.
Now, when they lay eggs, do you have to inject them with some chemical to enable them to lay eggs, or it is the normal process, you know?
It is the normal process, and the food you give them, yeah, that keeps them stronger to lay eggs. But it's the normal process.
Oh, okay. Because you see, I wanted to find a much nicer way, you know, of them be able to lay eggs. Because if you look at your normal hard body chickens, you will then have the mukukurumes that will be fertilizing those eggs, you know. I don't know what is the jargon for chickens.
No, those, you are right. Remember, we need to be simple. Just be simple.
Because no. The reason I'm asking, because I wanted to understand that the process, whether there has to be a mukukurume for the chickens, for the eggs to be there, or it is from the food that they eat.
It's from the food that they eat, and also the type of chickens are just specifically for eggs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you when they are done separately. Those eggs for egg chickens, they are laid separately with the hatching one. Remember, these days we use hatchery machines, which does close to millions of eggs in a day, depending how big it is. So you put the eggs today, tomorrow they're hatching.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because remember, we are in technology now, and we are many also.
And hey, yeah, maybe after today we will also talk about health issues with regard to those. Ne?
Yes.
Okay, right now. You know, this topic is actually very interesting to me. So and then after you feed them for grow, and then you sell them, and after you sell them, so the process is that you have to go now and purchase others, or when these ones, let's say there are like 7 days, you go and purchase, depending on whether you've got a bigger place.
Yes.
So that you don't run out of, chickens, for instance.
Yes, I think the best way that those who do that for business, remember us mostly in the villages or Kasi, if we're doing that for business, you need to have a 30 by 30 square meter. Or let's say, RDP, 50 by 50 square meters RDP house. You divide it into two. And then you look at the different seasons. Let's say we're going to Good Friday. If you are in the villages, most people from cities are coming home. So they're going to buy those. That is time for stock fail. That is time for functions. So you need more, because some stock fail orders 100, some 200. And then when you buy the day old, usually they are about 600 in a box. At about 1,200, depending where you're buying them, 1,200 rand. So you look at your market and holidays, where most people come back home and buy. I think if you are at home, you can see Ligarabalungona Lungolo Waraku or Lorumangwana Waraku. So
Oh, okay. No, I get that point. The other thing that I wanted to ask, because you see this Goldie chickens, name, and then
Yes.
you see also this what do they call them? What farm as well? Is it farmhouse? Something like that. Now,
Yeah.
all of those, but I'm talking about the South African ones. But I'm not sure that Goldie is South African. And then you also, if you go to shops like Pick and Pay, you also find the no-name one, which are like Pick and Pay chickens. Now, those, I don't know if I'm making a wrong assumption. Are they homegrown? Are they South African grown?
Yes, we got South African grown. And also we got, remember, we get most of our chicken from America. If you remember the Al Gore agreement with Barack Obama when he was reducing the taxes. So, but those are in this which we find in the braai packs. You can see they're a bit different from ours. They're a bit bigger than our normal sizes. Yes, but those which the sizes, if you can check whether it's Al Gore or Farm or other ones, they are our normal size. They are from our own production in South Africa. I think those guys who stays around, if you're going to Bronco Spray to use what is this road? Bronco Road from Esselen Park, going to Bronco. You'll find a big farm of chicken on your left.
Yes.
That's where they produce most for bigger shops.
Oh, okay. Now, let's say a small time farmer who is in the village has got these chickens, and now they are, let's say 60 or let's say about 50 days old now, and this person does not want to keep them there because the feeding will be too much for him. So are they allowed to slaughter them and sell them and refrigerate them and resell them?
Yes, but that one you need to be licensed, for example, because you need packaging now. As you know, we're not sure is it packed by the meat board and also the health inspectors. How are you slaughtering them? Also, it count. So those are the things which you must first do. But the good thing is, if you are in the villages, those chicken won't even reach at that age, remember, at that time. Because you always, every month, you always have Mindende. You can take your chicken and where old people are getting paid. You can take your chicken to other people who are playing stock fairs and all those things. So they will always buy, they won't reach at that stage.
You are with Mr. Stan on VMC Planet Radio, www.vmcplanetradio.co.za.
Welcome back. We are having our conversation with Mr. Aifheli Manwatha. So we have spoken about chicken, how they are raised, how, almost everything, how they are fed and all of those things. Now, is there any career that a person can go into, for poultry? In fact, before we even get to that question, did we leave something out with regard to poultry before we ask the last question, which is about the career?
Yes, I think we left the long range. We didn't talk much about their business. So the long range, as we said, mostly is farmers who buys them. It's very few people who are in the production of long range chicken. And those long range chicken, they take a bit longer to grow because if you can start selling them, you start selling them at the second month. You need to keep them for 2 months from starter. So they also consume a bit of more in food, but their prices are much higher than the white one for meat consumption because they start at 120 each. And most of those farmers, remember, they got thousands of cows, which means if they are ordering, they can't order less than 500. Yes, it takes longer, but they are profitable.
Oh. So let's then talk about the carriers in poultry farming.
Yes, poultry farming, as we said and we talked about the food, there is what you call nutritionalist, the one who will be dealing with those feedings. Remember how they are made, those feedings also? You have to plant some, you mix maize, sunbloem, and other ingredients to make those food. So we need people who knows that. And then you got the buyer of feed ingredients. Yes, as you mix the different ingredients to make those starter, the grower, and the finisher. Yes, because they are planted in different areas. And then you got the feed mill manager. And then you need a quality controller. And then you need the marketing managers for eggs. As you have seen, you got different types of eggs, but they're coming from one chicken. They're written different names. Now remember, somebody needs to sell better than the other one, but also they differ the eggs. I think that's the topic for another day, because we got those white eggs, if you have seen, and the darker one.
Oh, okay. But this person is called what?
Marketing manager.
Oh, the marketing manager.
Yeah, for sales of eggs. And then we got the manager for layer farms. The one we were talking about for eggs, remember, they're different from the meat production one. Yeah, those are one of the few. Remember also there's machines, also we're talking about the hatching machine, which need an engineer, technologies, and all those things. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he is Aifheli Manwatha, and he doesn't like his English name so much, but it has got at least a better meaning that is actually attached to it. The number is 073 718 3328. We are talking to him live right here at VMC Planet Radio, virtually so and director. Mr. Aifheli, thank you so very much.